Good morning. My name is Ruggiero Lo Monaco. I'm the head of real estate funds at Rasmala Investment Bank. Today is the 5th of December, 9:30 in Dubai. Today I would like to do some deep dive into the UK supported housing sector because as you might remember from last week, there has been yet another short seller attack on this sector, highlighting some of the weaknesses of the REITs operating into this sector, which has depressed their valuations. And I believe that despite the shortcomings of the business models, there might be some value in acquiring these REITs at these levels, given the discount to their NAV. But it's also important that we really understand what's going on and what are the risks of this trade. So first of all, I would like to summarize the universe of the UK specialized housing. Uh, we we have a care homes. These are homes for people with typically having elderly people or people that really require some form of care. Uh, they usually fall under the healthcare sector. There is a affordable housing. These are used to be called also social housing. These are for homes which are for people with low income or people who are key workers like nurses, firemen, policemen. Uh, and then there is the shared ownership. It's also a very interesting area where individuals essentially are offered the possibility of acquiring a home gradually over time with an investor owning the property and giving them a very, very long lease. But what I'm particularly interested at the moment is what we could call the supported living sector, i.e., homes for older people, people with a learning disability, people with physical disability, autistic people, individuals and families at risk, or who have experienced homelessness, people recovering from drug or alcohol dependence, people with experience of the criminal justice system, young people with a support need, such as a caregivers or a teenage parents, people with mental illness, or people fleeing domestic abuse with their children. So there is a system that provides home. I mean, it's designed to provide a shelter to these people, and this has given an opportunity to investors to partner with the government. So how does it really work? Typically, there is a developer. Okay, developer identifies some properties and works with the local government to make this property suitable for the purpose, okay, of supported living. The property is transferred or is basically a housing association is created. This could be a registered social landlord regulated by the regulator of social housing, charities regulated by the Charity Commission, community interest companies regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. So a lease of there is this property is transferred to a housing association on a long lease, okay, and the tenants are sent by the council. Okay, there is a network of charities, of councils that provide the tenants, and the government provides support for paying these rents. Then the developer sells the property to the investor, who ends up with a very long lease. So from the point of view of the investor, is not so much the tenant. I mean, it's not so much the credit worthiness of the tenant that really plays a role in the decision. Is the support of the government. And the long lease gives income stability and predictability. So on paper, it seems a very good arrangement for investors, because it's just another way of getting exposure to a government-backed income stream. But here are the issues. This is an example which is taken was just published by Home Read as a rebuttal to the short seller, and I'm not sure whether they really gave a good answer to what was the argument of the short seller, that these properties are overvalued. So how to read this? First of all, we have some property, okay, which have been bought by the REIT for £7,271,333. How this price was determined? Basically, the lease was capitalized, maybe at a 5.5 or 5.8 cap rate. Okay, it's a 25-year lease backed by the government. With inflation escalations, there could be a cap, a floor, but it's basically that's how that price is determined. Take away the stamp duty, so the net purchase price is about £7 million. Now let's look at the history, the short history of that property. The developer acquired that property for £3,201,250. They estimate he might have paid his own stamp duty of 192,000, might have refurbished the property about 950,000, creating a sinking fund for contribution of 46,000. Here there is £460,000, which is a tenant additional funding. So there was a shortfall between the lease and the rent received on this property, which was subleased, if I'm not mistaken, to Mears. So the vendor left some cash and covered the gap. Estimated survey, legal and agency fees, this is just an estimate of 2%. So what they call here total deductions, basically that would have been the total investment of the developer, i.e. 4,994,752, which gives a profit of 2.1 million to the vendor, which is a 42% uplift. Now, whoever is in the real estate business will realize that that's a very, very good profit, especially considering that this is not a new development. Okay, this is an existing property which is just being repurposed to the purpose of supported living. Okay, so that is the question: is what is really the value of this property? Is it 3 million? Okay, is it 4.9 million, or is it 7.2 million pounds? Okay, clearly on a capitalized basis, 7.2 million, because there is a rent, and capitalized at 5.8%, that price would be justified. But what about if the government decides that the property is no longer fit for purpose? So the rent, the long lease has very little worth if there is no support from the government, and that's basically what is the risk. So how the market has taken this? Well, it's not taken it well at all. At the moment, the share price is trading at, Friday closed at 52.90, okay, which is a huge discount from the assessed NAV. Similar for Civital Social Housing, the share price went to 60.7. Here there was a Shadow Falls who was the short seller. For Triple Point Social Housing, there was no short selling as such, but the price fell in sympathy and is currently trading at 70.1. So, in other words, these REITs are trading, you would say, at the price that the developer would have acquired the property or just sold those properties. If 42% was the profit of the developer, 40-50% discount to NAV takes you roughly to that point. Okay, so we are still talking about homes here, houses. So there is a floor to this. There is a perceived floor to these valuations in the value of the empty house, and I think that's where we are. But we still have that lease from the government. The government takes very, very seriously this sector. As I mentioned, we are not talking about just ordinary individuals. These are among the most vulnerable people in the society. So it has to be seen whether the government would take such a drastic step of withdrawing the support for these housing associations and charities that are providing housing to these individuals. So which basically takes us to the income that currently can be generated from this three REITs. In the case of Triple Point Social Housing, we are talking about 7.7%. Bear in mind that there is an element of growth in these leases, being the inflation, although as we have seen in the case of Civitas Social Housing, that is currently generating 9.27%. In some cases, the REIT is forthcoming, understands that it's not easy, it's not fair to apply a full inflation adjustment, so they are restructuring the leases. So I wouldn't expect much growth, okay? But 9.27% as an income, obviously, it's very attractive. And in the case of Home REIT at the moment is 7.79. So to make to counter, if you want, the argument of the short sellers that these housing associations are not creditworthy and there is a lot of concentration, I would say that there is not a question of concentration. There is only one risk into this, one main tenant in this supported housing, which is the government. Okay, so the government is paying the rent. So if the government withdraw its support, clearly this income is not secure at all. So I have last week I've made I shared I discussed this topic with a number of other portfolio managers based in the UK who are active into this sector, and also with brokers, research analysts. This sector is clearly out of favor. Okay, nobody is really seeing an obvious opportunity to invest. So this is just to be clear. That's different from the case of the, say, the logistic REITs, which felt like a 40-50% discount to NAV, but where there are some secular tailwinds which make the case for buying the REIT at those levels quite compelling. Okay, so most probably, I mean, as long as the sentiment of the market is negative, I doubt that there will be a huge rally in the shares of these REITs. But okay, if you're looking for income, okay, if you are looking for exposure to UK assets, I suggest that this could be an interesting place to make some to build some positions. Okay. I hope you have found this video blog interesting. If you want to discuss in more detail with me, feel free to contact me. Goodbye.